Hello and welcome to the Sprint Live. Today has been a day with the biggest story of the day, which is the fact that Wing Commander Abhinandan is back on the Indian soil. I have with me my colleague Nayanima Basu, who covers the foreign ministry very closely, and together we both will try and answer any questions that you may have on this entire process and the way that Wing Commander Abhinandan was brought back to the Indian side. Please do send in your questions and we'll try and answer as much as we can. I've got the first question which is coming in from Rahul, and Rahul is asking whether the video that was shot before his release was right. Well, Rahul, the answer to that question is very simple. It is absolutely wrong on the Pakistani side, on the part of the Pakistani military, to shoot to a video of a serving Indian Air Force officer under duress. Remember that he was in the captivity of the Pakistan Army, and just prior to his release, he was forced. The video that has been shot also has, to my count, a minute before I was just watching the video and counting, there were at least 16 cuts in the video, which clearly shows that he was under duress, and this is an entire fabricated setup. I have a question coming in from Sachin, who's asking what now that Wing Commander Abhinandan is back. Well, it is a matter of great satisfaction that we have Wing Commander Abhinandan back in our custody, back on our soil. It's something that the country would welcome. I, as a journalist, would welcome too. But remember that one should not lose the focus. What is the focus? What is the main thing that India wants? India wants action on the terrorism front, in the sense that India and rest of the world have asked Pakistan to carry out action operation against the terror safe havens. The Pakistan has to carry out verifiable, forceful action against not just the terror groups operating from its soil, but also on the terror camps. And that is something, and the action also needs to be verified. And that is something the country and the world will focus on. Wing Commander Abhinandan being in the Pakistan custody is a development. It is a matter of during any course of war or something, such developments take place. There are conventions, international conventions that both Pakistan and India has agreed to, under which Abhinandan would be covered. And Pakistan giving back Abhinandan is something that Pakistan had to do as per the international conventions. I have a question coming in from Surbi, and she's asking whether Pakistan has scored a diplomatic goal as far as the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan is concerned. I'll actually toss the mic to my colleague Nayanima Basu, and then I'll take it over from there to give you a side from the military point of view.
Thank you, Snehesh. So yes, I think this is a diplomatic win for India. However, we cannot ignore the fact that this has come from the Pakistan side. It remains to be seen whether the Pakistan Prime Minister did that, unilaterally did that, actually as a peace gesture, or there is something more to it, or if Pakistan has come under international pressure as what we are seeing from Saudi Arabia and US. But then yes, definitely the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan has definitely happened because of intense diplomatic negotiations between both the countries. We have another question from Mr. Amit Jain. Are talks the only way forward? Well, yes, talks are the only way forward. However, as Indian government has reiterated time and again, the talks can only proceed when the atmosphere is right, when there is no terror. However, yes, when given an option between war and talks, definitely dialogue is the option, and that is something remains to be seen, whether both countries actually sit in front, on a negotiating table and chart a way forward. But definitely this is a de-escalation of the tensions. It remains to be seen in the next few days in terms of events, how the events unfold. You want to take that question?
Yes, from as she rightly pointed out, that Indian government is absolutely clear of the fact that terror and talks cannot go hand in hand. Pakistan has to take strong, firm, and verifiable action against the terror safe havens, the terror organizations and training camps that operate from its soil. As far as the question to whether this is a major diplomatic win for Pakistan is concerned, India has already made it absolutely clear that the Wing Commander Abhinandan is not something that they are going to negotiate on. India had sought Abhinandan's return immediately and without any scope for any kind of negotiations. And India had also made it absolutely clear that if Pakistan thinks that Wing Commander Abhinandan is a negotiating tool, the matter of fact is that he is not. So yes, Pakistan did the right thing by giving back, by sending back Wing Commander back to the Indian side. But one would really have to wait and see whether it's a diplomatic win or not, because the way that Pakistan has done it, yesterday they took a decision to send him back, and the way the entire day progressed today, the forced video, which had about 16 cuts, clearly proves to the fact that Pakistan seems to have lost the plot. I would not hesitate in saying this was a great opportunity for Pakistan to showcase whatever that it wanted to showcase before the world, but they've goofed up majorly today, as far as the Wing Commander is concerned. I have a question coming in from Sumanta Kakati, who's asking how India would react to videos released by Pakistan against ethos and international norms. As we both mentioned earlier, that the video has about 16 cuts. It's a 1 minute or 10 seconds long video which has at least 16 cuts, which clearly shows that the video was heavily edited. It's a fabricated video. Whatever that is said under the custody of the Pakistan Army cannot be taken at face value. And hence, and it is a fact that the Pakistan Army has gone ahead and violated every international norms by indulging in such kind of propaganda. I would also, Nayanima, does this video also violate the international norms from a legal point of view?
Well, in terms of from the legal point of view, it does not, because we have seen previously also in histories situations like that happening. However, it remains to be seen how India reacts to it, because what he said is that he's very impressed with the Pakistani Army. They are very professional. He also said certain things about Indian media. I do not know if that will increase the stress level. However, this is a time when we need to look at de-escalation. I think India needs to probably give an answer to the fact that this video could have been avoided. Also, there is a question from Mr. Akshay Vincharkar. He says, will India take any hard steps against Pakistan now? Well, I do not think India will take any hard steps. I do not know really what you mean by hard steps. But if you're really talking about retaliation or strikes, India will not do that. We have seen yesterday, all our service chiefs were very clear that if they are all prepared, however, if they are provoked, then India will be forced to retaliate. At this point of time, I do not think that will be the right thing to say. Also, we have another question from Mr. Amit Prabhu. What do you make out of the statement of Modi on pilot project and large scale is yet to be delivered? Well, I think he was attending a conference of scientists. It's not proper to read between the lines. It remains to be seen what he meant by that. After that, he did not say anything. Today, he welcomed Abhinandan during one of his election rallies, and he said that he's a proud son of India. So let's not read in between these lines and create more tensions. Mr. Vincharkar asks another question. This step really going to de-escalate the stress between Pakistan and India? I think yes. This will definitely de-escalate the stress. However, it remains to be seen that right at the 11th hour when he was supposed to, step into India, this video gets released. Is this some kind of provocation? We'll see how Indian establishments, let's say the Ministry of External Affairs especially, reacts to this.
I have a question coming in from Shiv, and he's asking what would be the movement of the Indian military. I don't know what you mean by the movement of the Indian military, but yesterday you would have seen a joint press conference addressed by the Indian Air Force, the Army, and the Indian Navy, and they've been absolutely clear that they are on a state of high alert. The ships out in the sea are on high alert. We have already put on standby mechanized forces. At the same time, the Air Force is also on high alert. We have fighters which are based in other air bases that have been put in forward bases. For example, on the day when this dogfight happened, in which Wing Commander Abhinandan was shot down, after he was able to shoot down an F-16, one of the fighters which was up in the air was the Mirage 2000, and which was on the combat air patrol. Remember that Mirages are based in Gwalior. For the Mirages to be for air patrol over Kashmir at that time means that Mirages have been brought to the forward bases along the borders with Pakistan, and that is what senior officers of the Indian Air Force have said. So as far as the Indian military is concerned, it's in a state of high alertness. But at the same time, top government sources have also maintained that that the Indian military wants peace, and it is actually Pakistan which is indulging in warmongering and creating a war fear psychosis. Remember that Pakistan today came out with a statement saying that the airspace over Pakistan would be closed till the 4th of March. Remember that the India has not closed its airspace, and it feels that there was no reason for Pakistan to do so, but Pakistan government is free to do so. So this is an example of the kind of fear psychosis that Pakistan is creating. I have a question coming in from Amit Prabhu, who's asking, do you think by this gesture of Pakistan that now the ball is in our court? Well, the ball is firmly in Pakistan's court, is what top government sources had said when asked about this same yesterday, and they made it absolutely clear that the ball is in Pakistan's court as far as action against terrorism is concerned. Remember that one needs to, Wing Commander Abhinandan being in the custody of Pakistan is concerned. He has been sent back. This is something that Pakistan would eventually have to do, and this is what as Nayanima was rightly pointing out, India was in touch with several countries, and this is what as per the international norms, he had to be sent back. Remember, during the Kargil war, we had squadron leader Nachiketa, who was also taken hostage, and he was returned after 8 days. So yes, but what Pakistan really needs to do now is undertake serious action, which are verifiable actions against the terror groups and terror training camps that are operating from its soil. And then Sai Krishna is asking, is Wing Commander Abhinandan technically a prisoner of war? Nayanima will try and answer to that question.
Sure, Snehesh. Also, before that, just to go back to Mr. Kakati's question, what will be the next step and what will be the reaction of the government if whether the ball, and Mr. Prabhu's question, whether the ball is in their court. Well, let's remember here that the Indian government has already handed over a dossier on the Jaish-e-Mohammed and their details of their trainers, their recruits, their camps, and whatever activities they are planning to Pakistan. Now, and that has been done after Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan talked about sharing actionable intelligence with them. We hope that he will be now taking some action on that. So the ball definitely is in their court. Also, let's remember today, Minister of External Affairs Sushma Swaraj, she was in Dubai attending the OIC conference, where she again, she made a reference without naming Pakistan that the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, should come together and take action in terms of negotiation or through other measures to tell countries that provide shelter and funding to terrorism and to terrorists that this cannot be tolerated any further. Yes, coming to the question whether Wing Commander Abhinandan is technically a POW. Well, a prisoner of war is clear that it happens when both countries are in a state of war, and none of the countries have declared that they are in a state of war, which is why technically the Vienna Convention also does not kick in. However, and also Pakistan has never said that he is a POW. He was captured and he was released within a day. I do not think that we need to read more into this. However, we need to really celebrate the fact that he's back in the country, safe and unharmed. That is something that Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Defense and the government at large had been demanding. We also have a question from Mr. Basu. How will history see Imran Khan? Well, that's a question that only history can answer. It remains to be seen whether he's seen as a statesman or this was just something that he did under pressure. How do you like to answer that?
Well, as she rightly said, that only history would be the best judge of Imran Khan. We'll actually have to wait and see how the history judges whether he really has been the statesman that some are trying to project him as, or is he as some would say, still a tool in the hands of the Pakistan establishment, that is the Pakistani Army. And I have a question which is coming in from Sumonto Kakati, and what the question is, what will be the reaction of Government of India and armed forces if a scenario of two-front war occur? Are we really prepared for it? Now, this gets into the operational matters. I would not like to get into the operational matters of a two-front war or not. At the end of the day, I'm sure that no one desires a war. But yes, if it is something which is forced upon us, forced upon India, the Indian military will react as per the orders of the civilian government. But remember that as far as whether we are prepared for a two-front war or is concerned, if you get into the technicalities of it, I don't really want to get into the technicalities of it, but time and again, the Indian Army, along with the Indian Navy and the Air Force, have made it absolutely clear that they're ready for any eventuality, and I would like to believe them that they are indeed ready. I have a question coming in from Pranshu. Could there be any escalation from the Pakistani side? Well, if you're asking whether there could be any escalation directly from the Pakistani military is concerned, at this point of time, I don't think so. They have gone on a conciliatory note. They tried, attacking the 4 military installations across India. They were challenged by the MiG-21s. One of their F-16 fight plane was shot down. Pakistan continues to be in denial, even though India has gone ahead and given conclusive evidence of the fact that F-16s were indeed part of their operation. Pakistan has gone ahead and denied that the F-16, they have lost any fighter planes as such. But one will have to really wait and see how, whether Pakistan really takes any action on the terror front. Now, India, time again, both at the government and the civilian side, as well as the Indian military, have made it absolutely clear that Pakistan cannot continue supporting terror and orchestrating attacks in India without feeling, the pain for it. So yes, one will really have to wait and see how Pakistan really acts against the terror groups. I have a question coming in from Amit Prabhu. By the statement made by Pak MPs today on JEM, do you think Pak have lost the dialogue war with India? Well, JEM, the Pak MP, I don't know if I think you're meaning the Pak foreign minister, who admitted in an interview to CNN that, Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar is in Pakistan. So he's admitted the fact that he is in Pakistan. Remember that who is Masood Azhar? Masood Azhar is an internationally recognized terrorist. Now he's wanted by India and by other countries also. So for a Pakistan foreign minister admitting to the fact that he is on their soil is something that clearly proves, at where Pakistan stands in their fight against terrorism. Nayanima, you also, she's also closely following the process that is on at the UNSC. So I'll toss it to her to give you a better understanding of what's the process and on the diplomatic front as far as Masood Azhar is concerned.
Well, Mr. Prabhu, as my colleague Snehesh has rightly said, that Masood Azhar is a globally recognized terrorist. However, that has not yet been officially done at the level of UN Security Council. However, yesterday we've seen countries like US, UK, France, they have all come together and moved the UN 1267 Sanctions Committee. It remains to be seen that when the committee finally meets to enlist this particular individual, whether everyone goes for voting him as officially enlisting him as a global terrorist. We have seen this attempt has been done thrice. India has attempted it along with other countries thrice before, but China has vetoed it every time. This is the fourth chance again for China to probably now, make a compromise, or, I do not know, maybe they will now be on board. Let's see how that shapes up. We have another question from Mr. Kakati. Again, I think, Snehesh, that is directed towards you on the naval blockade. What do you have to say to that?
Well, the question that has been asked by Kakate is, sir, can we witness naval blockade as per our strategy to put pressure on Pakistan to act against terrorism? First of all, Kakate, don't call me sir, you can call me Snehesh. Second is that whether we can witness a naval blockade. Well, if you're asking whether India is capable of doing a naval blockade, well, yes, the matter of the fact is that yes, the Indian Navy is capable of, and this is one of the war games that have been played out. And also this was also one of the options that was considered when the Indian government decided to use the Air Force to carry out this particular surgical strike at the terror camp training center in Balakot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. So, but I don't see a naval blockade happening, because remember that a naval blockade does not involve just India and Pakistan. It also involves other countries who are trading with Pakistan. So yes, when a state of war, if at all a state of war is declared, I hope not, but if at all a state of war is declared, that is when you will see the Indian Navy moving in with all its assets. You remember that Indian Navy is one of the most modern navies in this region. You have the aircraft carrier, you have multiple frigates, destroyers, corvettes. At the same time, you also have a large fleet of submarines, including the indigenous, nuclear submarine Arihant. So yes, that is something that can be done. It will only be done if the government decides to go in for it, and that would happen, in my limited knowledge, would happen only and only when there is a declaration of war. There's a question which is asked by Popin Yadav: will India respond to the violation of Geneva Convention and violation by Pakistan in the case of Abhinandan? I'll toss this question to my colleague Nayanima here, but remember that while somebody had asked this question on POW, whether he was a POW, and Nayanima had correctly pointed out that he is technically cannot be considered a POW because there is no war that has been declared by the two sides. But there is an agreement between India and Pakistan under which both countries have to return any soldier who trespasses into each other's territory by mistake. Here in this case, Abhinandan was shot down while pursuing the Pakistani fighter jets, and it was he did not intend to enter the LOC, that is across the LOC, and that is what the Indian Air Force has said, but it was the air drift that took him across. So yes, while he would technically, as Nayanima rightly pointed out, that he might not be a prisoner of war, but there is a treaty between both the countries under which he had to be returned back. On this violation of the Geneva Convention question by Poppins, Nayanima is the best person to answer the question. I'll toss it to her.
I think you've cleared it, Snehesh. Yes, there is. Let's not talk about Geneva Convention at this point of time, because as we've been iterating again and again that we are not in a state of war. We are now looking at de-escalation. Probably there'll be a dialogue. There may not be a dialogue. However, let's not forget that exactly about 20 years back, both these countries became nuclear armed. So let's not talk about war, keeping in mind that both countries do have nuclear in their arsenal. We have another question on the Indian Air Force's damage assessment, if there will be any details. Well, as far as my information goes, the Tri-Services Chief yesterday said that they might come up with evidence, but that is their choice. However, Snehesh, he closely monitors the Ministry of Defense. He'll be much more able to tell you this answer in details.
Nayanima was referring to the press conference, the joint press conference addressed by senior officers from the Air Force, the Navy, and the Indian Army, and they were of the Air Force officer had made it absolutely clear that whatever that they had intent to hit has been hit. Whatever damage they wanted to cause, that damage has been caused. So as far as if you're talking in terms of casualties, I think yesterday the Air Force officer also made it absolutely clear that it would be premature to talk about casualties as of now. It's only later, once you pick up the chatter, once you pick up, you use your multiple intelligence sources, and only when you can come out with a casualty figure as such. But on the first day itself, we had the the Foreign Secretary mentioning that they had caused significant casualties, if I'm not mistaken,
About
Nayanima.
300 terrorists were
Well,
killed by us.
But that's not what the Foreign Secretary used the word significant, significant rather than getting into the numbers. So yes, I would also not get into the numbers. Neither would neither any of us would. But because it's not yet official, and there would be it would be too premature to talk about it. But yes, thank you so much for logging into us. There have been a lot of questions which are coming in. We tried to answer as much as possible. But do log in tomorrow also, where either me, Nayanima, or any of our colleagues would be picking up the biggest news story of the day and try and answer as many questions as possible. Thank you.